Why, hello there, you beautiful internet and you amazing creatures of the beyond. Nice to find you all in good shape, I suppose. So, today we are going to talk a bit about doubt. Now, I have a friend, and he's always like, nobody takes me serious. I don't trust myself. It's so difficult. Like, everything I do goes against me, and so on. You know the spiel. And I'm always like, mate, at the end of the day, it does not matter what other people say or think about what you do. It's about what you actually do that takes shape and is important to you. Because if you're going to constantly doubt your abilities and you're always going to take into account what everyone says around you, and not necessarily as a feedback, but more as a critique, you're always going to cut yourself short. So like it's just like a race, You do, I don't know, 80% of the track, and at that point it's like, oh, is this going to be any longer? Because you don't know how much you still have left. And people around you are like, you're going to lose, you're not gonna get to the end, and so on. And you're like, I'm just gonna go back. you know so you're already 80%, you're gonna do another 80%. That's double the amount that you already did. So instead of doing that extra 20% to get to your results, you're just backing off and just giving up, and it's very hurtful to yourself. And I'm not saying this to make people feel ashamed or anything like that, because i only I always try to talk from experience. So in the past, I've been doing like a lot of things that I was heavily doubting on my skill, art related, I mean. And I was asking for very small prices and so on. And I remember that I did this little project, and I was so afraid of what the customer might think. And I was like, this is gonna be such a big flop. It's like, it's horrible. I should have put so much more time into this and just do this and that and this and that. And I go to this customer, and he's like, wow, this looks so amazing. I think it took you so long. And in my mind, it's like, it took me like 3 hours. It was some design stuff for a page, whatever, nothing too crazy. And I asked like for, I don't know, $5, which in reality, like that work was, well, at that time, I would rate it around $30 to $50, let's say. So I asked a very small price. And after I left from there, I was like in, I don't know, shambles. I was like, how the hell did he like it? But I was looking too much into the details. I wasn't looking at the bigger picture. And the thing is that after some time, I found this project. I totally forgot about it. And then I looked at it with fresh eyes, and I was like, yeah, this looks really cool. Like how I've set the colors, how I've set the positions of the elements inside the composition, and so on. It's like, looks really amazing at first sight. Well, I don't have that project anymore, but I remember doing it after a few months. So when you're living in that moment, when you're just so into it, and maybe due to past failures and so on, you're starting to diminish your expectations, and you become too obsessed with details, too obsessed with success. And in my opinion, if you go down that road, you're just going to harm yourself, because you're always going to try to go through many risky moves and to just neglect some things about yourself that will put you in a disadvantage in life. So first and foremost, don't take everything for granted in life, especially not what everybody says around you. Even if your art is not perfect, it first has to be appealing to you. So if you like it, continue down that path. Because if you improve upon it, it will get to something magnificent one day. Nothing is perfect from the get-go, just start with little steps. But don't get discouraged when somebody throws a little bit of mud at you, because that's not what should bring you down in the first place. It's if somebody says ugly things about your work, first of all, take an objective stance and think, is this true for me? Is this true that my work sucks, let's say? And you look at the elements that you do there, and if you take into account just one person, that's gonna bring you down. But then if you go around and ask for feedback and see what other people might say about your work, then you can improve that those elements. And for example, I went to general people that have no relation to art, and I was doing this I don't know, composition with a person with a sort of a big planet in the background. It was just a sci-fi thing, and I started asking these people that were just random people, it's like, what do you think? And they started giving me this crazy advice, like, oh, I think the colors would mix better if it would be like this and like that. And I was like, well, let me try it. It's like I am taking a different approach through their feedback. I do not apply my mindset. And guess what? It really worked, because it's one thing to go and search for feedback, and one thing to go around and say, hey, do you like my art? And they say no. And you automatically back down and you're just like leaving it all to crumble. So if you're searching for answers or for new elements to improve your art, go to people that you not necessarily trust, but like you can sort of connect, have a friendship relationship, let's say, or acquaintances or whatever, but somebody who won't criticize you from the start and might give you some nice advice. And that can slowly improve your methods and your approach and your confidence, not necessarily just in yourself, but how you present your work to others, especially to clients if you're doing this as a professional thing. I also have another friend that she did like this crafting things, and she said, I'm gonna sell them online, and she wasn't very confident about people buying it and stuff, and she was placing the price very, very low. And people were buying it in droves because, first of all, it was cheap, but they were like, you should raise your prices. Like, this is like quality art. And the person was like, well, it wasn't talking to those people, but she was telling her friends, like, I don't see what these people see so amazing in my art. I see it as like failure. But the thing is, like, when you're creating a piece of art or any project in real life, but at that time, in that moment, when you make it, it's the best of your abilities. But later on, as I don't know, months pass, you discover new methods to improve it, and then you look back on your work and say, like, this is just like subpar to what I do right now. Why are people still interested in that? But this is the thing. You shouldn't see your work as an ascension from one thing to the other. No, you should see it as progress, but you should see each individual piece of work as a separate project. Like they should not be compared, because the moment you start comparing, uh, when you're selling your work, for example, and you start comparing, this work is subpar to my current work, you're already cutting yourself short into selling it at the correct price, or just valuing it as a piece of work that you have done. And I think that each individual work has to has its proper value. So if you did something like 2 years ago and you look at it and say, that's child's play now, but back then it wasn't child's play. It was very difficult for you to achieve that. So you would value back then 2 years ago, you would value that at the correct price, let's say. But now you would say, that's a few cents, not a few dollars. So don't do that. Try to put things into their place and time and moment. And if you critique your past, you're not understanding your present, because your past is what got you to your present, or your skills have been improved through all of the errors you have made, and through all of the experiences that you have learned from. So keep it steady, you know? It's how should I say, not a critical point of view on yourself. So detach from everything that you might think is like mm, too invalued in a way, like try to leave things flow, like go with the flow, man. Anyway, the point is, don't fall short when people are critiquing your work. Always try and try again, because the more you persist, the more you succeed. And success is the best revenge, in quotes, because you're not actually revenging on anybody, but it's sort of like your path that leads you somewhere. And the destination is not important, it's always the experience. And if you enjoy the experience, that is really what matters, not what others think that things should happen for you. It's you who decides, because you're the captain of your, or the architect of your life, or the captain of your boat. Don't let that boat sink. Okay, guys. Thanks for listening to me rambling about stuff that's random and cool and crazy. And catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye, 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 bye.